Honorable Senate authorizes the government of Belize to accede to the amendment to the Montreal Protocol on substances and deplete the ozone layer, a full text of which is hereunto annexed.
Honorable members, that motion is referred to the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee for examination, consideration, and report. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that whereas the government of Belize is a party to the Convention on International Civil Aviation, also known as the Chicago Convention, which was signed on 7 December 1944 in Chicago, Illinois, United States of America. And whereas the Protocol of Amendment to Article 50A provides for an increase in the size of the Council of the International Civil Aviation Organization from 36 members to 40, and whereas the Protocol of Amendment to Article 56 provides for an increase in the membership of Air Navigation Commission from 19 to 21, and whereas the protocols collectively have objective of enabling a more expansive group of countries to actively participate in decision-making processes involving civil aviation, and whereas the government of Belize is desirous of ratifying the said protocols, and whereas Section 61A(2)(a) of the Belize Constitution provides that the Senate has the power to authorize the ratification, including adhesion or accession of any treaty by the government of Belize. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this Honorable Senate, having examined the said protocols, authorizes the government of Belize to ratify that the protocols relating to Articles 50A and 56 of the Convention, full text of the protocols, are hereto annexed.
Honorable members, that motion is referred to the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee for examination, consideration, and report. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that whereas the Saudi Fund for Development, hereinafter referred to as the Saudi Fund, is a government organization that provides soft loans and grants to finance development projects and programs in developing countries. And whereas the government of Belize has requested assistance from the Saudi Fund to provide partial financing for the construction of a solar energy plant, hereinafter referred to as the project. And whereas the Board of Directors of the Saudi Fund for Development has recently approved a loan to the government of Belize in the amount of 288,750,000 Saudi riyals, equivalent to approximately US 77 million, to assist in the financing for the project. And whereas the purpose of the loan is to assist the government of Belize in financing the construction of utility-scale solar power plants with a total capacity of no less than 60 megawatts of solar PV generation, and supply and install solar panels to avoid emissions from the energy sector of the equivalent of about 60,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per year, through the system efficiency and consumption of at least 100 gigawatts per year. And whereas the project will consist of two main components whose activities will include the supply of PV modules, inverters, racking and mounting, cabling and wiring, and grid connection. The project will contribute to adding 60 megawatts of clean energy source to the national electricity grid. And whereas it is intended that the execution of the program shall be carried out on behalf of the government of Belize by the Central Executing Unit of the Ministry of Economic Development, acting as executing agency. And whereas the terms and conditions of the Saudi Fund loan offer are as follows: lender, the Saudi Fund for Development, loan amount 288,750,000 Saudi riyals, or approximately US 77 million. Term of the loan, 20 years, 5 years grace period plus 15 years repayment period. Grace period, 5 years from the effective date of the loan agreement. Rate of interest, fixed interest rate of 2% per annum on the principal amount withdrawing and outstanding from time to time. And whereas under the provisions of Section 7 of the Finance and Audit Reform Act 2005, the government of Belize is required to obtain the prior authorization of the National Assembly by way of a resolution for such a borrowing. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this Honorable House, being satisfied that the loan proceeds would have a positive impact on improving the reliability of the electrical network and reduce the cost of electricity to the national electricity provider, as well as improve the energy sector and contribute to the economic development of Belize, approves, confirms, and ratifies that the government of Belize may enter into a loan agreement with the Saudi Fund for Development on terms and conditions set out above, and further authorizes the Minister of Finance to execute and deliver the said loan agreement and all other documents associated therewith with effect from 1st August 2023.
I recognize Senator Michael Purvey.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President, and welcome back indeed, Senator Castillo. Another loan, Madam President, another loan. We are in the $900 million arena of borrowing since November 2020. 900 million, another loan. That's because we're not counting treasury bills. But we will count that soon. But aside from this government acting like a junkie when it comes to loans, this one is particularly strange. Saudi Arabia, Madam President, is known for selling oil through Aramco, the biggest company in the world. And they are lending money through a fund to us for solar. Saudi Arabia is lending money for solar. A business that if everybody were to get in, Aramco would be out of business. So what on earth is this about? Solar. Saudi Arabia lending money for solar. The only thing that's more ironic than that, Madam President, it's like getting pregnant on a pull-out couch. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
Senator, just be mindful.
Sorry, Madam President. Sorry, Madam President. I didn't use any bad language, but I take your lead, Madam President. Saudi Arabia lending money for solar. Very, 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 very strange. And you know, Madam President, that was the last time Senator Courtney asked me if I knew about Afrobeats. Was it Afrobeats, Senator Courtney? I surprised you know about Afrobeats. I surprised you. Talk about Rima. Was it Rima, right? Yes, man. Well, I'm sure you've heard about Busta Rhymes, right? You heard about Busta Rhymes? Carl, you don't know about Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes. Talk about that Arab money. Not like that Arab money. Like we just can't get enough of it. And it doesn't seem like our thirst for it will ever be quenched. To the point where we're borrowing monies, entering into agreements, signed by the Prime Minister, and he doesn't know anything about what the money, or how the money, or where the money will be used. So, the Public Utilities Commission say they have not been consulted on this. The purchaser for this solar energy to be produced and distributed, BEL, their chairman, say they have not been consulted. It seems like the government will be building this and just hoping somebody will buy it. What is the plan? And then Go right back there, go right back to this, Madam President. Hold on, man. I don't know why we're here, Madam President. Why we need to come here, because according to the Prime Minister, if you follow his logic, once he signed it, it's binding. Like Portugal, binding. He don't sign it, you know. He signed it August 4th. So, you all are not known to require Parliament before you sign an agreement and want to enforce it, but we're here. We're here, which is another strange thing. And what is the plan? $77 million is the loan. And government is contributing $3 million on top of that. For what? What is that $3 million for? Doesn't say, Madam President. And we go back again, Madam President, to what is the plan? By when do you suspect that this will solve all of our problems, if you're saying that this will solve all of our problems? When will we no longer need CFE? Will we still need CFE, or we won't need CFE anymore? And by when? What is the plan? What are you asking the Belizean people to expect after they will be borrowing over 150 million Belize dollars? What will they have to show for it? What guarantees do we have that BEL will bite if they have not been consulted? Because we don't see it here. And then, Madam President, I say all of that, you know, because you see, when the Prime Minister was asked last week about this project, and this is why it's difficult to support these things, something is signed on August 4th, 2023 by our Prime Minister. The executing agency is his ministry. And a reporter asked the Prime Minister, when are they going to be constructed, and do you have any idea where to be constructed? And the Prime Minister turned into Scooby-Doo right away. I don't know. And this is what he said. I don't know exactly where it is going to be constructed, but we already signed. So the monies will be made available, and we want to start as soon as possible. How you start if you don't know where you want to build it? You don't even know where you will build this thing, which means there's been no planning before you sign this agreement. You don't know where you'll build it. You don't know when you'll build it. All you know is that money, the dynamic will hurry about it, and we are said, once you have the money, we chase it and everything will just figure itself out. That is horrible planning. How you, as the Prime Minister, were signing the thing, your executing agency, you don't know when or where this thing will be built. But when you look closely, Madam President, there's contingency in here for land acquisitions. Land acquisitions. You don't know. You don't know what part you build it, but you don't know you need to acquire land, which means you do know where you will build it. The question is now, who will own that land that the government will now have to acquire? Who? Will come up again for land acquisitions from this deal? Because it's in there now. You read it, Joe? All right, good. But that's just what I want to say, Madam President, in terms of intro and how strange this thing is. And I know Senator Courtney didn't appreciate the last time when I went into the details and he was offended for his brothers. But it's the same. You come again, we have to criticize it again, because not much has changed. Yes, I do. I can't understand why they can't give us 77 million US, but I do. I have no issue with anybody. But, Madam President, let's look at this contract. And this is where it becomes very, very difficult for us to understand why we would negotiate this way. If you look at page 4, Article 4B, because the loan is in reals, Madam President, and it says here the fund, at the request and acting as an agent of the borrower. So the Saudi fund, Belize has no choice but to hire them to purchase for us their currency for us to pay them back. The Saudi says, you have to get this money in reals, Saudi money. But you can't go get that on your own, you know. You have to hire we to get it for you, our own currency, so that you can pay back the principal on the loan. Can you imagine that? What kind of control, what kind of hook do these people have on us? Section 403, whenever it shall be necessary for the purposes of this loan agreement to determine the value of one currency in terms of another, such value shall be as determined by the Saudi Arabian Monetary Agency. Which means that when we need reals to pay back the loan, if somehow Belize has an excess amount of euros, just for example, the Saudi Arabian Monetary Agency will determine the exchange rate, or how many reals you will get for how many euros you have. It's madness, craziness. This entire thing is in their total control for how we pay them back. We have to buy their money from them. Then they want we put up plaque that they help we build this. They're not helping us doing anything. Madam President, if you look at Article 8, privilege for records and communication, so then people are going to operate in a free jurisdiction. No, you know. Because we'll get to what we have to do and who we have to hire and who we have to pay. We'll get to that. All fund documents, records, correspondence, and similar material shall be considered by the borrower as confidential matters. So any documentation that they have pertaining to this loan and this project, the Belizean people can't see. So Freedom of Information Act no mean nothing. Not that it means anything. No, you know, write the Prime Minister over and over, he didn't even answer you. Because he feels like he's a god, he's a king. He doesn't have to answer to the people. Huh? The borrower shall accord the full immunity from censorship and inspection of publications. No try divert for nothing. Read the thing, man. No divert for nothing, yeah. Red herring now at work today. All property, assets, and income of the fund in the territories of the borrower shall be immune from requisition, confiscation, expropriation, seizure, and sequestration. Anything that they own, if they come, like I said before the last time, because of the same thing, you know, that Arab money. We give up anything for that Arab money. If they come down here and buy a vehicle, and something happens to that vehicle has to be impounded by the police or whatever, you can't do that. If you drive your vehicle and knock one lamppost and crash the PG, you can't take the man in the vehicle. Because that's immune, that's protected, because they're special. Madam President, Article 9. The borrower shall extend the necessary facilities to the accredited representatives of the fund who are charged with assignments related to the loan in the territory of the borrower, and shall accord such representatives immunities similar to those accorded to members of diplomatic missions. So a contractor from the Saudi fund comes to Belize to check to see if the pipe they run correct to the solar system. He not like one diplomat. Can't touch him. So the levels that Arab money buys you a lot of love. Madam President, and this is Senator Courtney's favorite one. Arbitration. Again, you bring a loan again, we have to say it again. If we on the Saudis quarrel, I read again, because I cut and paste, you know. The arbitral tribunal shall consist of 3 arbitrators appointed as follows. 1 arbitrator shall be appointed by the fund, a 2nd by Belize, and the 3rd one, 2 parties have to agree, or if we not agree, by the president of the Organization of Islamic Conference. So the president will decide who will be the 3rd arbitrator to be called the umpire. I wonder who that person will pick, or who that person, the president of the Islamic Conference Organization. I wonder if they would pick somebody not friendly to the one Islamic nation in the agreement. That Arab money buys you a lot of love. And that's just the specific agreement, Madam President. Let me remind everybody about let me remind everybody now about the agreement itself, sorry. Because I have to get to those millions, to those reals. Madam President, if I may draw your attention to page I confuse now, Madam President. To page 4, Article 3, execution of the project. I'm confused. Article 4, Article 3, Madam President, page 4. And this is for the loan agreement itself, Madam President. Earlier it was the general condition, but this is for the loan agreement itself. Section 3B, and I'll tell you why this is of specific concern to me. We had a supplemental that came in here a Senate meeting or 2 ago. But the leader of government business and the Minister of State for Finance said that the purpose of that was because essentially certain public servants terminated their job. Remember that Senator here? They had to crunch the numbers and they weren't doing what they were supposed to do, so we have to bring the supplemental. Well, in that environment, check out section 301B, Madam President. Without limiting the generality of paragraph A of this section, the borrower shall provide promptly and as when needed, in addition to the proceeds of this loan, all other funds which shall be required for carrying out the project, including any funds that may be required to meet any increase in the cost of the project beyond the estimated cost thereof at the time of the signing of this agreement. President, if we handle this project incompetently, and given their track record, that will happen for sure. We have to still find the money to make up for that. So if because of our incompetence it costs 100 million, we have to find that extra money. And given the incompetence displayed the last time there was a supplemental for this Senate and the National Assembly over, I don't have much confidence that there won't be some issue. Some issue. Remember that section. That section will come back. You could bet the farm. Section 303. The borrower shall cause the executing agency, which means the government of Belize, shall cause the ministry under the Prime Minister's office to employ qualified and experienced Saudi consultants or joint venture of Saudi Belize consulting offices acceptable to the fund in order to assist in project tendering and supervision of the execution of the project. It's a free project. It's a free project. The people that give we this money, no, we the borrow money. And I don't want to hear Senator Courtney, but oh, this is the way you normally do, and this law said this is the way it happened. No, man. You all are supposed to be top-notch negotiators. According to the blue bond and all that kind of thing. But you can't do a simple paragraph like saying, listen to me, if we to borrow 77 million US dollars, we want to hire who we want. And we are turn around, borrow money from you, then have to spend that money that we are borrowing from you on your consultants or on Belizean Saudi consultants, but we have to approve it. We have to approve it. You know, you never read it. Can you never read it? Page 3, page 4. I read it again for you. I read it again for you. Where Senator Courtney like say, slowly. The borrower shall cause the executing agency to employ qualified and experienced Saudi consultants or joint venture of Saudi Belize consulting offices acceptable to the fund. In the words of the one and only Vernon Harrison Courtney, that's English, isn't it? That's English. And I'm sure you understand it. No defend foolishness. No defend foolishness. You didn't read it. I bet you didn't even talk about it. 304. The borrower shall cause the executing agency to employ Saudi materials and suppliers and contractors acceptable to the fund upon terms and conditions satisfactory to the fund. You want to read it again? The borrower, we where the borrow the money, we shall cause the executing agency, the Ministry of Economic Development. We want to make them employ Saudi materials and suppliers and contractors. So even if we got somebody who could supply the equipment and the goods and services for this project, no! The Saudis must approve that. Don't worry about destruction, you know, destruction, you know. Destruction, man. Destruction, man. Huh? Destruction, man. I bet you none of them want to talk about it, or they want to talk about it in a technical way. Or they want to talk from a speech prepared and written for them. But we don't do that. We debate. Good. But Madam President, I don't blame you, no. Because, Madam President, it get worse.
Senators, just kindly be reminded of Standing Order 40 to allow the senator to speak.
Why, Madam President? It's what makes me come alive, man. No, stop them, man. Heckle, man. All haters, line up.
Be mindful of what you wish for.
All haters, line up, Madam President. If anybody have any haters they don't want, give me them. Section 307. The borrower shall cause the executing agency, the borrower, listen. Belize, will cause the Ministry of Economic Development to afford all reasonable opportunity for the accredited representatives of the fund to make visits for purposes related to the loan, to examine the project, the goods and services financed out of the proceeds of the loan. I have to repeat it again. You need to repeat it again anyway. We're part of stuff. Madam President, the Saudi people will from time to time visit this country, and out of the proceeds of the loan we have to pay for those visits. So when they come on a private jet and so on, they come and they pretty up and they say, we pay for that, you know. We are paying for that out of the loan. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? So all this ceremonial signing and all it looks like this, we're paying for that. And I don't care if we used to do that before, or we never did it before, or we did it when wrong Hurricane Hattie. We don't want to hear that this and no. I'm wondering now how much of this $77 million will really go to the project. The amount of money that will have to come out. And notice, Madam President, there's no real cap to it. So if they want to visit 10 times, they go visit 10 times. 3.8. Aha, 3.8. They put it on page 5, Madam President, middle bottom. But certain senators never reach that far. But I'll read it for you. The borough shall take all such actions as shall be necessary to acquire all such land and rights in respect of land as shall be required for the carrying out of the project. Have to acquire land. But we don't know where you are there. So how you know you have to acquire land? Huh? I Sam Diab come up again. Come up again. Hmm? Huh? Huh? Your leader call that a name. The borough. Okay, you know what? Let's skip that one. The borrower and the fund, section 4.01. The borrower and the fund confirm their agreement that no other external debt. Section 4 says, Madam President, whatever debt Belize have, I don't know how you want to rate for them one against their own one because we already have a debt to them. Any other debt we Belize owe come after their debt. Their debt takes priority over our debt. That Arab money buys you a lot of love. Madam President, section 404. This is the most insulting one. It happened the last time, it happened again. Now you look at how much we have to pay there. The borough undertakes to cause the executing agency to make a commemorative plaque of suitable dimensions from cement. Not from board, you know, not from mahogany, from cement. Or any suitable metal to be fixed in a conspicuous place in one of the facilities included in the project to show the contribution of the fund. Which contribution, Fred? They're making no contribution here. Then the milkweed. And we are allowing it because we're hungry. We're desperate for any type of financing that can come. That we just sign for get money and we don't know what we're going to do with it yet. Just lend away, quick. Well, not tell me, man. The borrower shall exempt all assets of the fund in the borrowing country from confiscation, nationalization, custody of all kinds, seizure, and appropriation. Just in case it wasn't clear before, they repeat it again. Can't touch for we thing. The borrower shall exempt all fund transactions in the borrowing country from all taxes, fees, all other official costs of any kind. Any kind. Think about one. Imagine one. Any kind. Make up one. That exempt too. You say that one we never think about, that exempt too. And then, Madam President, just like the last time, they have one here. Talk about the devil is in the details. As I said the last time, and I repeat, $1 is equivalent to 3.75 reals, more or less. So the $77 million, Madam President, equates to 288,750,000 reals. Now, 11,250,000 reals, $3 million US, is for consultancy services. So we have to pay the Saudis now if you teach we how to do solar when their expertise is oil. You don't get a chance, man. You don't get a chance, man. They don't bring you here for nothing, man. You don't get a chance, man. Huh? So 3 million US for consultancies like nobody else ever yet do this in the world. You mean to tell me we couldn't borrow expertise from one of our bilateral partners who have already done this, who know about this, who could say, listen to me, see everyone leave 3 million and can do this thing for you. Contingency is 18,750,000 riyals, 5 million US contingency. So of the $77 million, 8 million gone. Off the top. Off the top. Plus we're not factoring the 3 million yet the government they put. Because we don't see what that 3 million here is for or who it is for. In the breakdown in the schedule, the 3 million that government is contributing is not here. So what that for? But Madam President, that's not even the bad part. Because you see Section C tells you, Madam President, that if the Saudis decide that 5 million for contingency is not enough, they have the authority to take from any other category and put it towards that contingency. They may say, listen to me, too much to go towards civil, electrical, and mechanical works and supplies. Too much to go towards that. We believe this contingency should be 10 million, not 5 million. They could do that unilaterally. I know you never reached this far, so make I read it to tell you why they said that. Notwithstanding the allocation of an amount of the loan or the disbursement percentages set forth in the table above. This is Schedule 1C, Madam President. If the fund has reasonably estimated that the amount of the loan then allocated to the category will be insufficient to finance the agreed percentage of all expenditures in that category, the fund may, by notice to the borrower, just tell we. You don't have to ask we. You don't have to negotiate. You don't have to sign the agreement again. Just tell we. We are going to reallocate to such category to the extent required to meet the estimated shortfall. Proceeds of the loan which are then unallocated or allocated to another category and which, in the opinion of the fund, are not needed to meet the expenditures. They're lending us money, not giving us money. The agreement says that so much stuff is so much, so much stuff is so much, so much stuff is so much. But unilaterally, which means on their own, they can say, we don't believe that is enough, that enough is for here. We are going to, just tell Belize, not even require them to agree, just tell them that we will take some from here and put it here. We will take some from here and put it here to their satisfaction. Madam President, people in this room, when I sit down, will have to say what they have to say and what they've been told to say. I understand that. And they will get personal, and they will get petty, as usual, which is when we know we have a point. But anybody who agrees to that, either never read it, never read it, never understand what you mean to read if you read it, or had horrible advice before signing that. So, Madam President, let's hear from the acrobats. That's my presentation, Madam President.
I recognize Senator Kevin Herrera.
Madam President. Is this working? Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I listened to the presentation by Senator Perfeet, and I have read the agreement, and I had noted the various clauses that he went over in the presentation, but I took a somewhat of a different position from what he took. I looked at the loan amount, which was 77 million, approximately 77 million US dollars, and I look at the terms of that facility, which was 2%. And if you compare that to what inflation is, Madam President, you're basically looking at free money. Now, what that does, Madam President, is, to me, what the facility does is, what that facility does, Madam President, it gives us an opportunity to move towards energy independence, which is something I think we badly need in this country. Right now there's the estimate is that
Again, Senators, I am reminding you of Standing Order 40 for you all to maintain silence while the Senator is speaking.
So the facility, Madam President, we're talking about 15 years with 5 years grace at 2%. I think that's extremely concessionary terms. And again, like I mentioned, it does give us the ability to move towards energy independence. I think the estimate right now is that we're looking at attracting investments in the solar in the region of 180 megawatts. This is 60 megawatts we're talking about, and if you look at the 180 is installed capacity. If we look at the capacity factor of 25% of that, then this 60 megawatts that we're talking about is not near where we need to be, because if you look at the capacity factor and if you're looking at installed capacity that they're asking, they're looking at they're saying that we need to install, then we need 45 megawatts of actual generation, what they call the capacity factor. So this 60 megawatts would give us about 15 megawatts of that. And so the point I'm making, Madam President, is we need a whole lot more investments in energy, in addition to what we're talking about. And this is not just solar, Madam President. I think we need a mix of investments, whether we're talking about solar, wind, or even clean gas to a certain extent, because there are times when the sun won't shine. There are times when the winds won't be blowing. There are times when we run into dry weather, when the hydro plants won't have enough water to generate the amount of electricity that we need. And so we need a whole mix of that. And so even with this, we need to look at gas generation at a certain point and maybe look at the clean aspects of that. But I would hope that, we continue on this path in terms of moving towards energy independence. I think we can all recall the scare that we got during the recent dry weather we have, where we were running into an energy crisis. And I think that it's extremely important that we look at energy independence, and even beyond energy independence, Madam President, is that we can link into the Central American grid and perhaps have the type of investments locally that we could actually sell into the larger Central American system. And so I think that should certainly be the goal that we look at as we're going down the road. So, Madam President, to come back to what I wanted to present on, I support the motion. I understand the issues raised by Senator Perryfeet, but I really believe that it's a move in the right direction. I think that it certainly gives us the opportunity to continue move towards energy independence, and I'm hoping that other investors will come to the fore and invest in our energy sector so that we can move towards the independence in energy that we all see. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Bishop Alvin Bengusha.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and I also want to welcome back my colleague, Linford Castillo, back to the Senate. Madam President, I make this contribution this morning on the presentation that my social partner, Senator Herrera, made, not only today, but what he said at our last sitting. And he reminded us of why it is important as a country, as a developing country, I would say, to be able to exercise a level of energy independence. He reminded us the last time of what took place, especially with Mexico and the challenges we had insofar as the grid was concerned, and how for us as a country, as a small developing country, we were affected. And we have to take into consideration, especially when we experience outages such as that, it affects our businesses, and large business, but also the small entrepreneurs who are investing in a very small way, but especially if you're just starting up, how it can affect you in a very adverse way. So we have to take that into consideration. I want to be mindful of the contribution that Senator Perryfeet made, and I will only add to this insofar as what I certainly would say we need to be mindful of as we go forward. There needs to be, as far as I'm concerned, a clear strategy. And that includes what Senator Herrera has just presented on, and as I said, presented on the last time. That we have to have a clear strategy. I recognize and I continue to make reference to the Caribbean because that is what I'm most familiar with. Across the Caribbean at this time, Madam President, we have these small islands. Because we're blessed with an abundance of sun, they're making use of solar energy. And at this time in Belize, we're blessed in the same way. And we ought to make use of that aspect. And so I want to say, just in closing, that I do recognize what has been said, and especially as we go into the nitty-gritty of the loan, some things that can be pointed out. But I take into consideration that as we go forward and as we vision and as we plan for our country, especially homeowners, for example, who would like to invest in solar also when it is put together, that we need to bear that in mind. And the last thing I will say, Madam President, in this regard, is that we must also, whatever we do insofar as visioning and planning for the way forward, whatever is put in place, the Belizean public must be taken into consideration. In other words, we must also consider how, for the normal person, we can spend less on energy. And I think that is also important. So, Madam President, certainly from where I stand, I can support what is before us. Thank you very much.
I recognize Senator Bevington Cal.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise to support this loan motion, Madam President. As I listened to Senator Perry-Feet earlier, I'm wondering which world he lives in. So I quickly did a research when it comes to the Saudis, Madam President, about their oil, because he was saying that they depend solely on oil. And I would like to refer him to, if with your permission, Madam President, to the Economist Intelligence page, which was published on Friday, 17 February 2023, and the heading is Saudi Arabia launches world's largest solar power plant. Madam President, on November 30th, ACW Power, a local utilities company, signed an agreement with Water and Electricity Holding Company to build the world's largest single solar power plant in Al-Shaba, Mecca province. The solar power facility is expected to start operation by 2025 with a generation capacity of 2,060 megawatts. We expect the investment in clean energy projects to rise, assisted by high oil prices in 2023-2024. Saudi Arabia seeks to add 15 gigawatts of renewable energy to the government renewable energy capacity in 2022 to 2023. That is happening right now, and while supporting the government's climate objective and economic diversification strategy. Madam President, it goes on to say that rather than solely an environmental solution, renewable energy is reviewed by the Saudi government foremost as a prestigious business opportunity as the country seeks to becoming the world's largest low-cost producer of renewable energy. So, Madam President, back to Belize. In early June of this year, Madam President, like Senator Herrera, the good Herrera mentioned earlier,
Senators, and Senator Kyle, be mindful of how we refer to our senators, because indirectly you may be making a statement about another senator.
I'm guided, Madam President. Madam President, but in early June, we experienced a shortage of electricity in Belize, and again, our supplier, which is the Mexican, had experienced a generational shortages because of the high demand of energy in the Yucatan Peninsula area. And subsequent to that, Madam President, CFE reduced the available amount of electricity that it would provide for Belize. Obviously, they will provide for the people first, and that affects us, Madam President. So obviously, there is a need for us to solve this problem, Madam President, and as a responsible government and as a responsible Prime Minister, the Honorable John Briceño stepped up the game and went to look for the funds that is needed for us to fix this problem, Madam President. Madam President, when it comes to the development of this country, the well-being of our Belizean people, Madam President, we take that seriously. Unlike those guys on the other side, Madam President, we are serious about delivering to our Belizean people. So, Madam President, like I said, the Prime Minister once again had to go out and find these funds to get this done. And that's the reason why we're here, Madam President, to approve $77 million to construct a solar plant for us to have sustainable energy for our country. Madam President, this will bring a lot of jobs. This will give a lot of Belizeans the opportunity to want to go and study about solar energy and come back to Belize. Like, I can proudly say, Madam President, that we have 2 females in the Toledo district who have been helping us and working with us to roll out solar energy in the Toledo district. And we're proud of that, Madam President. And we want to keep it that way. We want to have our own source of energy. We want to have clean energy, Madam President. And for us, solar is the way to go. We need to make use of this sun that God has blessed us with, Madam President. We need to make use of it. Madam President, investing the $77 million to construct the solar power plant will contribute to adding clean energy, like I said earlier, and it is 60 megawatts of clean energy, Madam President. That is huge for us. And Madam President, again, with all these issues, urgent issues that we have, for the last 13 years, the UDP had no priority when it comes to this, Madam President. So we have to come back and clean all of this mess and make sure that we deliver to the Belizean people. That is why, Madam President, we on this side, we have the full confidence of the Prime Minister. Like the Belizean people, Madam President, they also give the Prime Minister that full confidence that we will deliver for the Belizean people, and that is exactly what we're doing. Thank you, Madam President.
I recognize Senator Isabel Bennett Moody.
Morning, Madam President. I too rise to give my full support to this Saudi Funds for Development construction for the solar energy plant project. I'd like to say a few words, Madam President, with your permission. I too like to congratulate all the athletes in our country in the different disciplines that they had ventured in. Belize is proud. We have continued to expand and explore the possibilities in sports, and so we have to commend the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Transportation for the stalwart work that they are doing, and of course all the corporate sectors of Belize that continue to support our athletes. Of course, I always say the parents, the coaches, even the fans that make a big difference for our athletes. I would also like to add to that in the near future, I strongly believe that Belize will be showcasing swimming as a sport because of the initiative that have been taken by the Belize Coast Guard Association in collaboration with the Belize Coast Guard Family Association that has been newly established. Having given those congratulations, I would just really like to say that in respect to one of the previous presentations from the other side, it's pathetic that at times as professionals we would just want to label or put a box around a certain initiative or around a certain country. And at times it's simply because we don't educate ourselves. We will never know everything, but at some point it's our responsibility as senators to be able to share information that is factual and not to come in the House and flabbergast and paint a picture that is so very dismal as what was done by Senator Perifete. I would beg the Belizean people, even if you're listening to the presentation this morning in the Senate, is that you be that critical mind and that you question what was presented on his behalf. Because if you would take the time to just go to the first 2 pages of Wikipedia, it clearly defines the success that the Saudis have as it relates to solar energy. So to put them in a box that they're just experts in oil is just totally wrong. So that, and there's so many layers of fad and deception that was presented on his behalf. But as we as a nation explore this ambitious solar energy project, it's obvious that we are a country that is progressive, that we have a leader that is sensitive to the issues that are impacting us as it relates to solar energy. And I love the fact that Senator Kevin Herrera has always made mention of energy independence. It's the way that we are going as a nation, because we hear and we see what the global trends are as it relates to issues. I am seeing where, because we're so futuristic and visionary in our approach to developing this country and bettering the lives of Belizeans, I am seeing where, as a nation, we will start to consider wind, water, as well as biomass. And again, this is what the Saudi Arabia countries have been doing. So as a nation, they have a vision, and similarly as a nation, we too have a vision, the one that has been most robust for this country over the past 2 years, and it will continue to, because it's changing the lives of Belizeans. Plan Belize has been very, very forceful. And whether you're of a different political affiliation, it's impacting your lives, because there's development from every single facet of our lives. We have feverishly impacted agriculture, and we know that we are moving with that policy that speaks to eat what you grow. We know that agriculture uses a lot of water. And so if as a nation we are developing the different ministries, then we have to be able to have the energy resource that will move those energies forward. And so it's very impactful, it's very visionary, it's very important that this project be given the full support. Unfortunately, some persons that are short-sighted would not see it, but that's okay. The Belizean people will feel the impact. And so I close to say that if we can continue to align ourselves and do collaborative business with countries like Saudi, that is basically giving us free money to develop this nation, why not continue to do so? It's only those who are short-sighted will not be able to support this bill. I thank you.
I recognize Senator Elena Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to make my contribution on this loan motion. But let me first, if I may, Madam President, allow me to welcome Senator Castillo once more to this House. And also allow me to congratulate our athletes. As a country, as Belizeans, we were all proud, when we saw our youth, our young people, our volleyball team, the powerlifting team, all getting all of these medals and showing across the Caribbean and wider than that, that we do have persons, despite some of them may not have all that they need to fully grow, develop their skills, that they are still able to do well for us. I also want to congratulate Senator Chanona, on being elected as a chair of the Senate Special Select Committee, and we look forward to that work as we proceed in doing the people's business. Madam President, I will say that Belizeans deserve cheaper energy. We know that there has been this cry for quite some time now regarding the cost of living, and that includes, energy as well. And I will also agree that we need to move forward to energy independence, or maybe we may say that it's better that we look forward to energy security. That might be the bigger goal. We also understand that this process, this loan, this project follows from the government energy roadmap, if I got that correctly. And so this is just a process in that plan. I will also agree, Madam President, that the interest on the loan is indeed great. 2%. Here we are paying, 16, 18, 21, depending on what kind of loan you have. And so it would only be through a government entity that we are able to negotiate those sorts of deals. And so we can understand why it would be the government trying to get these loans to facilitate this sort of a project. However, Madam President, as we always hear, the devil is in the details. And while we are satisfied, I should say, with regards to the low interest rate, as labor, as the group that represents the working population, as the group that constantly looks at governance and transparency and accountability, we have to point out the other concerns that we have as it relates to this loan motion. When we look at the entire section that Senator Perifeed spoke about, the execution of the project, Madam President, we do have similar concerns to those raised by Senator Perifeed. But beyond those, we also have concerns regarding other areas of this project. When we look at these kinds of loans, we understand that for certain aspects of a project like this, that there's going to be the requirement for skilled persons. We understand that. And we may not always have those persons in country, or sufficient of them to be able to do what it is that this kind of loan require. But I do hope, Madam President, that as we go through the execution phase, that we remember that this loan is going to be repaid by us, the working class. And not only are we going to, or should we be benefiting, because in the longer run, we would be having, or we expect to be having, cheaper energy, but we have to also ensure that jobs, sufficient jobs, are provided for all people as well. Aside from that, Madam President, I know that as a country, we are big on carbon footprint, and we want to ensure, that we do our very best. We've been encouraging the bigger countries to do their part as well. And so we must ensure that as we deal with these matters, the batteries and all of these things that will be used with this project, that we keep that in mind as well. In addition to that, Madam President, we recognize that for a project of this magnitude, there's going to be the need for land, as was said before. And we've been hearing some names being tossed around, companies or persons, families who have large plots of land who, will be able to share their wealth with us. Of course, it will come at a cost. But in clearing land for this project, we would like to ask that as we, again, looking at the environmental aspect, what would be the impact of that on our land, on our waters, that sort of thing. As well, Madam President, when we look at, for example, we will end up having to have batteries for this system. And so looking at the disposal of these things and what effect those would have. Now, I understand that these batteries can last many years, and they can also be recycled. All right? However, there still needs to be the caution in terms of how we do these things. As well, Madam President, Section 4, I believe, spoke about this group enjoying priority over other groups. And in our discussion, it was raised that this may not be the only loan that has such a clause. And so it's to then wonder, well, who exactly will be priority number one? We are fully aware that we borrow, we must pay. But as I said earlier, at times the devil is in the details. And so we want to be comfortable knowing that at the end of this project, and while we may not, because we don't have that information, know all of the details in terms of what would be the final impact in terms of us as Belizeans, you know, what would the rates go down to, those sorts of things. We know that with a project of this kind, that will come, that day will come when we as Belizeans will see that impact. But we trust, Madam President, that the impact is going to be great enough for all that we will have to do in ensuring that as a country we repay our loan and we are able to continue so that we can get to the point, as we spoke about earlier, of not just energy independence, but that we will be able to be at the point where we have energy security. I thank you.
I recognize Senator Linsford Castillo.
Thank you, Madam President. And I appreciate your warm welcome to this house this morning, along with my other colleagues who extended their warm greetings. Let me also say, before I proceed, to join you, Madam President, along with my other colleagues, in congratulating our athletes who have performed exceedingly well over the last few weeks, representing this country at home and abroad. And so, for me, especially as the chairman of the National Sports Council, I need not to say how extremely proud and bragging right now, because we earn with stripes, you know. So certainly congratulations to our athletes, to our coaches, and to all who supported our Team Belize in making us succeed in the various disciplines, in volleyball, in basketball, in powerlifting, and so on and so forth. Can you? Oh, as well, okay. So once again, let me extend my heartfelt congratulations. Madam President, I rise to support the Saudi Fund for Development, construction of a solar energy plant, loan motion 2023. No, Madam President, I am only here temporarily, so I have to take advantage, you know, and make my contribution before I leave. So it would be remiss of me to not contribute, especially to this particular subject. No, Madam President, I know we have an opposition, and I know, as the name says, they are here to oppose. That's their job, and I'm sorry that Senator Perafit is not here right now. But, yeah, and I hope he's listening, and I'm sure he is. But as an opposition, yes, that's the way we're supposed to do. We're supposed to oppose. But, man, oppose sensibly. That is all I am asking. Just don't oppose for oppose's sake. And just don't talk and say things just because I won't go as far as that, you know. But we have to learn to be logical, to be sensible, even in opposition. But I know the members across the floor can't help it, because it is in their DNA to oppose. In fact, the UDP was birthed out of opposition, you know. That is what you guys do best. You know, oppose, manholan, you know. And so I can't blame you in one respect, but at the same time, let us be sensible in our criticisms. Let us be constructive. Because all I heard from Senator Perafit just now was a bunch of ramblings will never make too much sense to me. You know, so we have to be careful of that, members over the other side. Now, Senator Perfeet, and even in all the ramblings I was listening, he made several points. He talked about arbitration, location, part of the plant one day. We don't know, with this, with that. Inclusion. Oh, why the Saudis have to be involved here and there, and why this and why that, and acquisition. Where the material will come from. Where we and get this, who want that? And even execution. How will the project roll out? Oh, well, with this one happen with that? You know, and he went on and on and on. And we all had to bear, you know, that experience just a while ago. But what came to my mind when I was listening to Senator Perfeet, he had me wonder if he has ever applied for a loan, or if he know anything about borrowing or sensible borrowing. Because from what I am hearing from him, he don't know nothing about borrowing or loan. You know? Hold on, Senator Herrera. But we all know if you go to any lending institution, when you go and borrow a loan, whether that's $500, $10,000, whatever, the borrower will have certain stipulations that you have to abide by. The borrower will tell you, okay, here, but I need this, I need that for you, I need that, this is how you want to be, this is how the amount you want will be stipulated in terms of paying back, and we have to abide by that. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? And so, these stipulations that are outlined here are basic criteria that goes with accessing funds from our international partners. It is not rocket science. You know, so I just cannot understand where Senator Perfeet was coming from. The thing is, not because the details of the loan is not spelled out or spread out at the moment, that means nothing not happen. Not because Senator Perfeet don't know the details means that a plan is not in place. He cannot be like that, man. Not because, and I wonder if before today he cared to even inquire so that he could have come to this house saying that, man, I checked into this, I called about that, I was requesting this or requesting that before coming here, and just, you know, saying all sorts of rhetoric. If he even cared to inquire the details behind the loan. It doesn't mean that because certain things are spelled out in this motion that certain research has not been done already. Come on, man. We can't approach business like that. We can't think that, man, everything is just, oh, not happening and there is some sinister motive behind everything. That is not how we work over here. We have experienced enough of that when Unumedede. And I know Unu used to that kind of operation. That's why I think everybody operates so. But sorry if it is a point to know. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to be forward thinking. And especially when, as it relates to this particular loan. Man, I want to say that this project is long overdue. Long, if I want to be we're supposed to make that solar energy long time. But we never worry about that. We worry about other things. So this is a project that is long overdue. I want to applaud this government for taking the initiative to being bold, to being forward thinking in putting together such a project and securing the necessary finances. that we need. And so, at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, let me try and wrap up, you know. Your turn next. This tell me what I say we don't agree with. Tell me what I say we don't agree with.
Senator,
tell me what I say we don't agree with.
Proceed with your presentation, please.
You see what Senator Herrera say? Kevin Herrera. He talked about energy independence. You don't agree with that neither? Senator Bengoshe echoed the same thing along with Senator Smith. Energy independence. You know, what is wrong with that? You don't agree with that? And so the benefits of this project.
Senators, kindly be mindful again of the standing order when someone is speaking, for other senators to remain silent. While I do enjoy the cross camaraderie, I would love for the Senator Castillo to proceed with his presentation.
Thank you, Madam President. At the end of the day, this project has a lot of benefits, multiple benefits in all areas. We're looking at affordable energy, what this country needs, affordable energy, alternative energy. Senator Perfy talk about how people will know about oil want to go in a solar, and these people live in the desert. If nothing else, they know about sun and solar. You know? And I want to echo what Senator Bengoshe mentioned in his remarks, looking at the model and looking at the way our Caribbean partners are going. They're going along that same route. Solar, alternative energy. We're talking about sufficient energy. Other senators made the comment that we have to start planning this country, whether I want to believe it or not, like it or not, it is growing, it is developing under this government. The need for more energy is ever present. We have to secure enough energy to take us into the foreseeable future, man. What is wrong with that? So we have to get sufficient energy. Clean energy. Clean energy. We have to look after that. And this is what this project will address. Not to mention, like what Senator Carl said, job creation. That what about the unemployment rate there right now, we don't know admit. Job creation. Jobs and more jobs. You know, so all we have to say is that we are excited. We look forward to the execution of this project. And I want to close off by saying that we are here in this house, ladies and gentlemen, to look after the best interests of this nation, man. To ensure that we secure a future for our children or grandchildren who will come before us and take the helm. But we can't be coming to this house and being petty, rhetorical, short-sighted, quarrelsome, because that will not take us anywhere. Let us join hands and let us move this nation forward, because at the end of the day, we live here. So, once again, Madam President, I give my full support to this motion. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Janelle Chanona.
Thank you, Madam President. With your leave, if I could make a few comments before I get to the motion, and welcome to Senator Castillo to the proceedings. I too would like to echo the sentiments for our athletes in the various disciplines in sports. It's truly, well, if you look at the achievements that have been made when we are first-time entrants, even this summer, to some of the events, and listening yesterday to the powerlifting team talk about 41 medals. inclusive of gold, bronze for the men's national volleyball team, silver for the under-19 female volleyball team, bronze for the under-17 basketball team. It's really incredible. But more than their achievements, I will say that having had an opportunity to be in the stadiums, in the civic center, in these venues when these things are being accomplished by our athletes, it's truly a beautiful thing to see Belizeans rally in unity and to feel that patriotism surge through the crowd. Truly refreshing and welcomed when so often we're being divisive or there are efforts for division. And I also want to take a moment as well to call out the support teams around these athletes. They're the ones doing the fundraising. They're the ones ferrying folks back and forth and making sure that the athletes have as much support as they can render for that accomplishment. So I want to call out everyone who has supported all that effort behind our athletes and make note of that. I also want to add, if I may, the congratulations extension for Senator Elena. Since we last met, she was elected second vice president of the Caribbean Union of Teachers. And that is a remarkable accomplishment as well. I should say that, like our athletes, it's only when we get access and opportunity then we show that we don't just have potential, but we have what it takes for leadership. So I think that is to be commended. On a serious note, you mentioned that Senator Williams and her family are experiencing a family emergency. I also want to offer our support for the senator and her family, having just grieved the loss of her father and now with another family member, to let her know that we're keeping her in prayer. I also want to thank the members of the Senate for their full support for the leadership of the Senate Select Inquiry Committee as we move forward in fulfilling a core function of the Senate as required in the Constitution. It will be a lot of work, but I know together we can get it done. And last but certainly not least, I also want to make reference to the micro-credential course that I participated in. It was myself and Honorable Panton from the House who participated at that course with the support from the Ministry of Finance. I want to offer to all my colleagues access to any materials, any lessons learned that we have garnered from that exercise, and we look forward to certainly sharing. I won't say misery loves company, Madam President, but I think there was familiarity in the challenges, but also opportunity in the innovation and the creativity that has been applied around the always limited resources of parliaments across the Commonwealth. So just to put that officially on record. If I could turn now to this motion, Madam President, our intervention is, well, it segues from the McGill course in that we studied parliamentary committees and we looked at public financial management. And one of the concepts that they talked about was value for money. And I think that's why there's this reticence and this perhaps cynicism of loans insofar as how do we make sure taxpayers feel like when we're borrowing money that they're getting value for money. And I always commend various city councils and other bodies have incorporated when you see signs that say your tax dollars at work. And how do we make sure that that is translated to the public? Because then, as we know from our personal experience, I think Senator Castillo mentioned that earlier, insofar as we know that when we borrow money for the house or we borrow money for the education or we borrow money, that gratifying and fulfilling feeling that we have given children the opportunity for education we never got, we got this. So it's I think important, our intervention on this motion then is just to call out that we certainly support the clean energy initiative. We align ourselves with the comments insofar as consultative energy plan and the roadmap towards energy security and energy independence. Those are two different concepts, and it's important that we know which ones we're working towards so that we can support that, because certainly I think we want to be part of the solution and not the problem. We know what's causing the
the heat, the wildfires, the droughts, everything that's happening. And I think it is indeed commendable that we're looking at this, but making sure that as a part of that package, that is the track we maintain. I also want to say that it can't come too soon. We know it was mentioned that we've already started to experience that issue in terms of delivery this summer. I know there's power supply chain, chain of demand and everything that may compromise the timeline. So I hope that won't be an issue here, because I think it is agreed that it can't come soon enough in terms of having this extra energy source available for the people and for that to occur. So I'll close there, Madam President. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Colette Montejo.
Yes, Madam President, I will be very brief. I will start first by addressing one of the, can I just be blatant, Madam President, and just call it a lie? Is that against parliamentary language?
I just ask that you...
Mistruth? Yeah, I'm not calling anybody, I'm just saying...
speak in a way that does not...
Misleading?
In any way misleading or impugning proper motive?
No, I certainly won't, Madam President. I won't. But in November of 2020, the people of this country voted out what we can only term at this point as extreme corruption. And the reason they did that was because people had gotten totally tired and frustrated with the way the country was being run. The massive borrowing. I can recall the former Prime Minister saying, I will borrow till I can borrow no more. When the People's United Party government took office in November 2020, and these are facts, and therefore, as I state them, I will state them one by one. Debt to GDP was at 133%, unsustainable at all levels. So when I listened to the House meeting on Friday and the so-called leader of the opposition, then the area representative from Albert got up, and then I listened to Senator Perifit this morning try to echo that again, saying that this People's United Party government has borrowed in excess of 900 million. I begin to understand in Creole verbatim why they mess up the country like that, because they just don't know numbers. And one thing about numbers is it doesn't lie. So, let's refresh your memory. Since taking office in 2020, the People's United Party government has secured 13 new loans. 1-3, do the maths. 1-3. And I could give another breakdown, but I know. But if you want it, I will provide it for you. Totaling $467 million, Madam President. 467. That's a far cry from 900. My dream. Now, of that 467 million that has been borrowed, so far, we've only drawn down on 106 million, or 23%, in the 2.5 years. Now, you know what's interesting, Madam President? I don't normally listen any further because I lost all confidence in the Right Honorable, and I'll give him his name, Dean Barrow, the Barrow man. But on Sunday, at the Pocotempo UDP convention, he didn't want to show his face. Shame, you know. Shame my own son. All right? He didn't want to show his face, so he sent a recorded message. Not even a recorded video message, Madam President. A recorded message, did not mention his son's name once, did not endorse his son once.
Senator Montejo, can you bring it back?
Sure thing, Madam President. Sure thing.
Thank you so much.
But in that recorded message, he was like borrowing out of control. I'm like, brother,
1.3 billion.
Brother, what are they? Now, look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. 467 million in new loans, 106 million drawn down to date. In 2.5 years, that's less than 50 million per year drawn to date. I'll go a little farther. In 2021-2022, this People's United Party-led government has paid in amortization 65 million. We drew down less than 50, but we paid 65. In 22-23, we paid 88 million. Now, it doesn't take great business mind, it just takes basic economics. If you are paying more than you are drawing down, wait. It's a loan. If you are drawing down more than you are, if you are paying more than you are drawing down, Madam President, then guess what's happening? Guess what's happening?
Senator Herrera, just be mindful of Standing Order 40 to be silent when a senator is speaking. Senator Montejo, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. So what, in effect, is happening in Belize? Under this People's United Party government, instead of our loan portfolio increasing, it is decreasing. Now, Senator Herrera, I see you smiling, but let me help you. Let me help you. No, I can't help him. Yeah, beyond help. Okay, everybody, the Belizean people and Madam President, if I am paying back more than I am using, then it is obvious that I am owing less. Basic maths. Now, as it relates to the 77 million loan, and I need to make a quick correction to Senator Elena Smith, because this loan, Senator, will pay back for itself. This loan will generate electricity which will be sold to the distributor, and the proceeds of that will cover this loan. Common sense, straightforward. All right? So this loan, in effect, Madam President, is going to pay back for itself, one, going to lower the rate of electricity, two, going to help us to move, like Senator Herrera said, towards energy independence, three. This is all good. So what is the opposition to this loan motion? All right? Now, any right-thinking Belizean, all right, with just a bald brain, will know that this is a good loan motion. And like Senator Castillo rightly said, you don't oppose to oppose sake. When you see something good, you commend it. That is responsible. That is what the upper house is about. All right? So, Madam President, there's a long road ahead. Senator Herrera, you are right. We got to look at all avenues. Senator Bengoshe, all avenues. This is one step in the right direction. And I have to commend our Prime Minister. I have to commend Senator Christopher Coy, who is not here with us today. I close with this positive note. When them brother over that side me in power, Madam President, they were giving out PPAs to cronies like I don't know what. Everybody, this one got power purchase agreement, that one got power purchase agreement with no plan how they are going to provide the power. I hope that power purchase agreement, those power purchase agreements that they distributed, don't come back like the Belize. Seriously. Because all of a sudden, you see power purchase agreement, they appear all over. We got this, we got this, we got this. And we want to get paid for having done absolutely nothing but join in the corrupt UDP train. That's it. Here now is a serious plan to address our energy needs that are ever increasing. And I commend this government. It's always about Plan Belize and moving forward. So to our Prime Minister, thank you, Brother John. We move forward and I support this motion.
I recognize Senator Erica Jang.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, and Madam President, before I continue, I would just like to give a welcome to our colleague over on this side, Senator Castillo. I'd like to say welcome again. I rise to support this loan motion. In this time of crisis, I applaud our Prime Minister as he launches this loan motion that will benefit our Belizean people. I won't be long, Madam President. I will be very brief, because most of my colleagues on this side have expressed all that I wanted to say, or some of what I wanted to say. But for the record, I want to stand to support this motion. In this time of energy crisis, I believe that this loan motion only creates benefit for our citizens in Belize. As I read through the terms, I realized that this loan proves to be very flexible. I look at the 2% interest per year. I also look at the 2-year term, which includes 5 years grace period, which I believe is awesome. Madam President, Just to point out a few things that this loan will provide for people in our country: the job creations, economic growth, and it will make our country less vulnerable to power outages. I'm looking also at what our colleagues say, the reduced electricity cost, which will make it cost effective for us. And most of all, I'd like to echo the sentiments of Senator Herrera as he spoke about energy independence. Madam President and colleagues, why then should we disagree to this motion? I see only positivity and I only see benefits. For this case, I support this motion.
Madam President, I rise to wind up the debate on this loan motion. As I listened to someone this morning, last time I got Afrobeats. This time we're going to the Imperial Paw. My mind went to Stratford-upon-Avon, the home of William Shakespeare, Macbeth. Macbeth was talking about life, and I will call no name. But substitute life in this quote for someone who comes to mind. This is what Macbeth said: "Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing." You know, Madam President, I have said in this Senate before that it is not that people can't read, comprehension, read and understand. We listen and understand. But people have a proclivity for grandstanding, an irrepressible need to hear their voice when no one else wants to hear it. An incurable disease, and perhaps Senator Bennett, who is a well-qualified nurse, medical professional, can help us. Madam President, thought is formed in the brain, and then it travels to the mouth. And on that journey, it appears that some people lose connection between the brain and the mouth. I know they call no name. Sound and fury signifying nothing. On the last occasion, when we debated a motion for a loan from Saudi Arabia, I criticized Senator Perafit for his Islamophobia. And you know, I can only assume that last night he asked the clerk for a recording of what he said on the last occasion, committed it to memory, and came here today and vomited it out again. We will come shortly, and I won't violate the standing order on anticipation. We will come shortly to another loan motion. that have very similar terms. Very similar terms. And I will listen carefully to see whether they'll be criticized. We are supposed to be acrobats. That's what wedding called this morning, Madam President. All those who support it, the acrobats, the record will reflect that only one senator has got up and opposed a motion to give this country energy security from a renewable source at a lower cost. Senator Michael Perifeet stood up and for nearly 45 minutes criticized this loan motion. Madam President, history will record that he opposed it. He opposed 2% interest. He opposed use of solar power. He opposed energy security. Then they want to try to figure out why when they say people come out in the thousands, what do you call it? Poco Tempo Convention. Last time we met, Senator Kevin Herrera made a statement, sober, well thought out, fact-based, forward-looking, on this very issue. As if he knew what was coming. But the person who spoke on the other side perhaps heard but couldn't understand it. Because had he understood it, one would have assumed that his brain would have told him not to say what he came here to say today. But there is a disconnection as you travel that road from the brain to the mouth. Listen to this undiluted nonsense. Because Saudi Arabia has the most proven oil reserves in the world, they don't want to lend you money for the solar. That, Madam President, is stupidity on stilts dressed up in a miniskirt with lipstick. As Senator Bevington Carl demonstrated in less than 1 minute, Senator Bennett pointed out, just go on the internet. Saudi Arabia has announced and is executing a plan to provide 200 gigawatts of solar power in Saudi Arabia by 2030, even though they have the most proven oil reserves in the world. Why, Madam President? Because the entire world, except Senator Perifeet, is moving to renewable energy. But when you wake up in the morning and decide I'm going to come make mischief, grandstand, and oppose for the sake of opposing, it is that type of, let me be kind, nonsense that is presented as an argument in opposition to this motion. There is no loan from an international financial institution, Madam President, where that financial institution granting the loan does not insist on having a say in the drawdown, execution, implementation, and expenditure of the loan. There is no international financial institution that is going to allow you to borrow money and to hire consultants that you choose without an agreement with that international financial institution. And this loan agreement provides for joint consultants. But because of his Islamophobic predisposition, Senator Perifit thinks that something is wrong with that, and he knows better, I hope. I took the time on the last occasion that we debated the Saudi loan motion to try to educate. I know it was a failure. I read from the Caribbean Development Bank law in Belize. I read from the IDB law in Belize. All of those laws give the same privileges and immunities that the Saudi fund is requesting in the loan document. This is routine, this is customary, and this is international best practice. But Senator Perifit coined this morning pretending that this is strange, that this is different, and this is some PUP concoction. I used to laugh at what he used to say, Madam President, but I'm giving way to that laughter, to sympathy. Sorry for him. On the question of land, he pretends that there is mischief afoot because the loan agreement provides for possible land acquisition. The fact of the matter is, Madam President, that the government has engaged the International Finance Corporation of Washington, D.C., not of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Perhaps he'll be comforted that because they come from states, it's okay. The IFC is about to complete a study to identify the locations in Belize best suited for the placement of the solar farms. So we have hired consultants to advise where best to put the farms. And all the loan agreement provides for is that if the IFC says Area X and it's privately owned, then we have to get into negotiation for land acquisition. That is what you call forward thinking, Madam President. I said at the beginning, and I will repeat, sound and fury signifying nothing. Grandstanding. Giving the Belizean people the impression that something is wrong with this loan motion. But we are here, Madam President, and I listened carefully to the senators, social partner senators, who pointed to issues that require discussion, clarification, transparency, and we have no quarrel with that. But do not, and I again condemn Senator Perifit for coming to this Senate and pretending that something is wrong, something is unusual with agreeing to put up a plaque to signify how and who paid for the project. Let me wind up by saying, and you know, Senator Kevin Herrera, I would beg you, take the time invite him to lunch. Well, no. That will be expensive. Buy one drink and explain to him the effect of getting a loan at 2%. Take your time. Suggest you have to write it down and leave on paper with them. Explain the benefit of a 5-year grace period, 20-year repayment at fixed 2%. As Senator Montejo pointed out, perhaps it is that he was not capable of comprehending this. The power will be generated and it will be sold to BEL for distribution, transmission, distribution. And the cost, the 2%, will be a cost of power. But, Madam President, what this will do, it will reduce our reliance on CFE, where the interest rate is far in excess of this. And so the cost of power overall mix will be less. It will increase our energy security, Madam President. It will reduce the foreign exchange outflow because we are paying at a much reduced rate of interest. It will help us to satisfy our nationally determined contributions for 2021, commitment that we are making to making the world a better place. And finally, Madam President, because we will be reducing our reliance on fossil fuel, this is going to make our energy generation far greener. And so, as an acrobat, Madam President, I am perfect. Come sit down, man. Come and do your people's work. As an acrobat,
business, please stick to devotion.
I'm about to wind up. As an acrobat, Madam President, I have every reason on earth to fully support this motion, and I ask that the question be put.
Honorable members, the question is, now therefore be it resolved that this Honorable House, being satisfied that the loan proceeds would have a positive impact on improving the reliability of the electrical network and reduce the cost of electricity to the national electricity provider, as well as improve the energy sector and contribute to the economic development of Belize, approves, confirms, and ratifies that the government of Belize may enter into a loan agreement with the Saudi Fund for Development on the terms and conditions set out above, and further authorizes the Minister of Finance to execute and deliver the said loan agreement and all other documents associated therewith with effect from 1st August 2023. All those in favor kindly say aye. Aye. Those against kindly say no. The ayes have it. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that whereas Belize, as a member of the Caribbean Development Bank, is eligible for development assistance in the form of loans, grants, and technical assistance from the bank on such terms and conditions as may be agreed between Belize and the bank from time to time, and whereas Section 15(1) of the Development Finance Corporation Act, Chapter 279, Revised Edition 2020, provides that the Development Finance Corporation may, with the approval of the Minister of Finance and subject to the principles of sound fiscal management, borrow sums domestically or internationally for meeting any of its obligations or discharging any of its functions. And whereas subsection 4 of Section 15 of the Development Finance Corporation's Amendment Act 2022 further provides that the aggregate domestic debt of or over $5 million Belize dollars shall only be validly entered into pursuant to a resolution of the National Assembly authorizing the DFC to raise the loan or to borrow the money. And whereas the purpose of the DFC as per Section 4 of the Development Finance Corporation Amendment Act 2022, is to expand and strengthen the economy of Belize by providing guarantees and funding on an economically and environmentally sustainable basis to those persons seeking financing, including those who would otherwise be unable to obtain funding from other sources on reasonable terms and conditions. And whereas the bank has approved a line of credit to the DFC in the sum of US $12.5 million to enable the DFC to on-lend to micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises within the Belizean economy for agricultural and industrial purposes in the productive sector. And whereas a line of credit with a fixed interest cost of 0.75% per annum will also enable the DFC to better manage its interest rate risk, noting that the cost of funds from the bank's ordinary capital resources has increased from 3.3 to 4.9% per annum, and from other sources from 1.2 to 5.74% per annum during the period from November 2021 to date. And whereas the main terms and conditions of the line of credit are as follows: loan amount US $12.5 million from the special fund resources of the bank. Purpose: to support the financing of subloans to micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises for agricultural and industrial credit in the productive sector. Loan term: the principal payment repayment for 25 years, following 5 years of grace period. Interest shall be paid at the fixed rate of 0.75% per annum on the loan disbursed and outstanding from time to time. The disbursement schedule: the first disbursement shall be submitted by the 30th September 2023, with the loan being disbursed up to December 31st, 2026. Both dates are subject to adjustment for a later date once specified in writing by the bank. Repayment period: to be repaid in 100 equal or approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments on the amount drawn down on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of 5 years following the date of this loan agreement, or on such a later due date as the bank may specify in writing. The commitment period: the loan shall be totally committed by the borrower by the 31st of December 2025, or on such later date as may be specified in writing by the bank, and the security: Government of Belize sovereign guarantee. And whereas a general condition of the bank's lending programs is that the principal, interest, fees, premiums, and any other loan charge shall be paid without any deduction or restriction whatsoever, exempt from any tax, fee, duty, or charge established or that may be established by the borrower. And whereas under the provisions of Section 7.6 of the Finance and Audit Reform Act 2025 provides that before the government offers any guarantee or some other form of security in support of a loan made directly to a private sector entity or a statutory body by any public or private bank, financial institution, or capital market in or outside of Belize, the government shall seek the approval of the National Assembly. Now therefore be it resolved that this Honorable House, being satisfied that the line of credit from the bank to the DFC will increase the number of viable MSMEs, leading to enhanced productive capacity to contribute to economic growth and the export potential of Belize, and sustaining and creating employment opportunities. 1, approves that the DFC borrow the said sum of US $12.5 million from the bank on the terms and conditions set out above, and further authorizes the Board of the Directors of the DFC to execute and deliver the loan agreement and other associated documents. And 2, approves that all principal, interest, fees, premiums, and other charges under the loan shall be tax-free, shall be free of tax, duty, charge, exempt, as provided for in the loan agreements and guarantee agreements. And 3, further approves and confirms that the government may enter into a guarantee agreement with the bank on terms and conditions set out above, and further authorizes the Minister of Finance to execute and deliver the guarantee agreement and all documents associated therewith. Madam President, the documents supporting this motion have been made available to the Senate. Madam President, in accordance with Standing Order 10.8, I move that the proceedings on the order paper may be entered upon and proceeded with at this day sitting at any hour, though opposed.
Honorable members, the question is that the proceedings on the order paper may be entered upon and proceeded with at this day sitting at any hour opposed. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. The ayes have it.
Good morning.
I recognize Senator Antonio Herrera.
Yes, good morning, Madam President. First of all, I take the opportunity to welcome my good brother from Corozal, Senator Castillo. Welcome, my brother, and also help you to beat your chest, right, to congratulate the athletes coming to Belize. I don't know how much influence the Sports Council had on the powerlifting team and so, but anyways, we'll still help you beat your chest today, my brother. So that's what that, right? We are rooting for you. So anyways, I will go as Senator Montejo said, let's refresh the Belizean people's minds when it comes to the DFC, Developed Finance Corporation. But under the PUP's dollars for cronies, that is what it means, right? So just 4 months ago, Madam President, we were here for a $20 million loan for the DFC. 4 months, not even 6 months ago. And here we are today asking for another $25 million for the same DFC. Like I said, I will be short and sweet, but when it comes to the DFC, short and bitter. Let's not forget, when one family walked out with $30 million from the DFC in 1 day, So we have bitter taste when it comes to the DFC and loans from the government. No, remember, we must also remember that is a government guaranteed loan, meaning that if anything happens that we cannot meet our loan obligations, the people of this country, Madam President, will be saddled with another loan. Therefore, as in the business sector, we can see from Corozal to Toledo, from San Pedro to Cayo, businesses are closing down almost on a daily basis, brothers. Brother Castillo, meet by man right from Corozal, closed down, can't take it no more. So who is getting these monies? Who are these monies going to? This is the question. More important than the loan, we should be asking today for an audit of the DFC and the first $20 million. Who feels the impact? Where is this money going, Madam President? When businesses in this country are taking a lick, we all hear about inflation. I believe that the management of the DFC should be audited, especially with the history that we have had with the DFC. We definitely applaud, because loans to the DFC and to the business community, the agricultural sector, because this is for the agricultural sector, it's a dying industries, no industry, industries. So we say today, who is getting the monies for these loans? Where is this money going? Who will benefit from these loans? It's not clear right there on the paper. It's not clear. So my question is, how will this money be dispersed to the businesses? Will this go only to cronies once again? Or the benefit will go to the business people of this country? As a businessman, I can tell you, things rough out here. Everything is going up. We have to subsidize one business with the next. It's like what? Peter forgive Paul? That is what we are today in business. Because you have to have more than one business to survive in this country. Things are difficult. Prices are high. So therefore, my advice to the government and the DFC, let's make these loans available to everybody. Let's make these loans available to the people that need it, to the people that rightfully need it, my brothers. And that is the business community and the agricultural sector, especially the farmers of this country. when we have so much farmers and what? We import most of the things because of one person getting all the permits, Madam President. We need to subsidize our farmers. And we need to subsidize our businesses until we can get on our feet once again. So I end today in asking this government to be fair, because at the end of the day, it's a government guaranteed loan. And one more thing I would like to clarify. We say that DFC is performing, getting medals and also making a profit, yet it had to be guaranteed by the government. This loan had to be guaranteed by the government. So I say to my friends on the other side, let's be fair with these loans. Let the people who deserve it get it. That's my contribution for today. Thank you very much.
Madam President, I ask that the question be put.
Honorable members, the question is now therefore be it resolved that this Honorable House, being satisfied that the line of credit from the bank to the DFC will increase the number of viable MSMEs, leading to enhanced productive capacity to contribute to economic growth and the export potential of Belize, and sustaining and creating employment opportunities. 1. Approves that the DFC may borrow the said sum of US $12.5 million from the bank on the terms and conditions set out above, and further authorizes the Board of Directors of the DFC to execute and deliver the loan agreement and associated documents. And 2. Approves that all principal, interest, fees, premiums, and other charges under the loan shall be tax, fee, duty, or charge exempt as provided for in the loan and guarantee agreements. And 3, further approves and confirms that the government may enter into a guarantee agreement with the bank on terms and conditions set out above, and further authorizes the Minister of Finance to execute and deliver the said guarantee agreement and all documents associated therewith. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. The ayes have it. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that whereas Belize, as a member of the Inter-American Development Bank, is eligible for development assistance in the form of loans, grants, and technical assistance from the bank on such terms and conditions as may be agreed between Belize and the bank from time to time. And whereas the Belize Water Services Limited is a state-owned water and sewage utility company whose mission is to improve the lives of consumers by delivering cost-effective and sustainable supply of high-quality water and wastewater services in an environmentally and socially responsible manner. And whereas on the 31st May 2023, the bank's Board of Executive Directors approved financing in the sum of US $5 million to assist the BWSL to be able to undertake its water supply and modernization program on the condition, among others, that the loan shall be guaranteed by the government of Belize. And whereas the program will consist of 2 components with the following specific objectives: to increase access to water services in the peri-urban areas and rural villages near BWSL service areas, including the installation of pipes and water meters in Belmopan and Harmonyville suburbs. 2, to improve the planning capacity and the operational financial performance of BWSL in selected service areas with a focus on climate change adaptation and mitigation, and will comprise of water disinfection, energy efficiency, and smart metering technologies. And whereas the proposed program will be financed through the IDB direct investment loan to BWSL up to the sum of US $5 million, a non-reimbursable investment financing of US $1 million, and a sovereign guarantee issued by the government of up to $5 million US. And whereas the execution of the program shall be carried out by BWSL, acting as executing energy agency. And whereas the bank has offered financing of up to US $5 million to the BWSL for the program under the following terms and conditions. Loan principal amount, US $5 million. Disbursement schedule, over a period of 4 years from the effective date of the loan contract, but may be extended subject to the consent of the Government of Belize and IDB. Loan terms, 25 years inclusive of a 66-month grace period on principal repayments. Repayment period to be repaid in 39 approximately equal and semi-annual and consecutive installments of about US $128,205.12. Purpose to reduce service gaps between urban and rural areas and to strengthen the institutional capacity of BWSL. Rate of interest. Interest will be charged on the daily outstanding balance of the loan as per SOFR-based interest rate, plus the applicable lending spread for the bank's ordinary capital loans. Credit fee. A credit fee will be charged on the disbursed loan balance at a percentage to be established by the bank on a periodic basis, not exceeding 0.75% per annum. And whereas under the provisions of Section 7(6) of the Finance and Audit Reform Act 2005 provides that before the government offers any guarantee or some other form of security in support of a loan made directly to a private sector entity or a statutory body by any public or private bank, financial institution or capital market in or outside of Belize, the government shall seek the approval of the National Assembly. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this Honorable House, being satisfied that the loan proceeds will assist the government of Belize in its continued efforts to expand the water distribution system of BWSL to meet current and future potable water demands for the citizens of Belize, as well as make advancements through the implementation of relevant technologies in the sector. 1. Approves that BWSL may borrow the said sum of US $5 million from the IDB on the terms and conditions set out above, and further authorizes the Board of Directors of the BWSL to execute and deliver the loan agreement and other associated disbursements. 2. Approves that all principal, interest, fees, premiums, and other charges under the loan shall be tax-free, duty, or charge exempt as provided for in the loan and guarantee agreements. And 3. Further approves and confirms that the government may enter into a guarantee agreement with the IDB on the terms and conditions set out above, and further authorizes the Minister of Finance to execute and deliver the said guarantee agreement and all other documents associated therewith. Again, Madam President, the supporting documents have been provided to Senators. Madam President, I ask that the question be put.
Honorable members, the question is now, therefore, be it resolved that this Honorable House, being satisfied that the loan proceeds will assist the government of Belize in its continued efforts to expand the water distribution system of BWSL to meet current and future potable water demands for the citizens of Belize, as well as make advancements through the implementation of relevant technologies in the sector. 1. Approves that the BWSL may borrow the said sum of US $5 million from the IDB on the terms and conditions set out above, and further authorizes the Board of Directors of the BWSL to execute and deliver the loan agreement and other associated documents. And 2. Approves that all principal, interest, fees, premiums, and other charges under the loan shall be tax, fee, duty, or charge exempt as provided for in the loan and guarantee agreements. And 3. Further approves and confirms that the government may enter into a guarantee agreement with the IDB on the terms and conditions set out above, and further authorizes the Minister of Finance to execute and deliver the said guarantee agreement and all documents associated therewith. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. The ayes have it.
Bills for second reading.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I rise to move the second reading of a bill for an act to amend the Accounting Records Maintenance Act, Chapter 261-01 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to require entities to maintain accounting records within Belize at its registered office or office registered agent in Belize, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Madam President, this bill is hopefully one of the final ones, or the final one in the slew of legislation we passed to comply with the FATF requirements. This establishes, one, that the Financial Services Commission shall be responsible for the administration of the Act, and secondly, it requires entities to keep accounting records within Belize, either at their office or the office of the registered agent. That enables the Commission to properly have access to the documents for administrative purposes.
I recognize Senator Michael Purfeet.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, my comments along these SIFATIF bills have been fairly consistent, and I continue to maintain that if the government is saying that these are necessary for us to get a good passing grade from the Financial Commission, then fine. I only caution, Madam President, because this is what concerns the business people who are involved in these types of things, that they're making a lot of changes really fast. And it is the hope and expectation of the business community, Madam President, that the infrastructure the government has can sustain these changes, that the people at the company's registry and the like can absorb the changes, know what has to take place so that business can be efficiently run. I'll give you an example, Madam President. In this Senate, we approved the Data Processing Act in 2021, which states that the Ministry of E-Governance is responsible for collecting all kinds of data from all government sources, analyze that data, and present a report to the National Assembly. So far, we have received none of that. When you call the office to ask, well, where is the unit that deals with data analysis? There is no such unit. So we have these laws in place, but we don't have the infrastructure to go along with the laws to make sure that we have things in place to match what is required of us. And then, Madam President, we want to remind the government that security of information is very important. Now, you have people who are presenting their accounting records. While certainly if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry about, but it's just a matter of common privacy. If I'm in a private enterprise with someone else, whether as a joint venture or even as myself, and what's the business of anybody to know my accounting records except for tax purposes? Or where are these records being kept? Are they, when it's required by the Commission, it will be required in electronic form, in paper form? I mean, we saw the BEL hack the other day, and so there's a concern about the privacy aspect of these pieces of legislation, and that these pieces of information will be kept with the proper authorities and not be leaked. The information will not come out, because even though we have to comply, and even though you have to abide by the laws, there is still a requirement of privacy. That's your business. That's your business that you're conducting. So we just express on behalf of that community, Madam President, the need for the government to have the infrastructure in place to make sure that they can handle these new changes in the law. Thank you, Madam President.
I am called upon once again, Madam President, to talk about reading and understanding. This bill is the accounting records bill. This is not talking about government taking any documents. This is not about government keeping any documents. This is businesses are being required, already required by law, to keep their documents. That's why I keep talking about grandstanding. The amendment, it's an amendment bill, Senator Perfit, comprehend. The amendment.
I ask Senator Perfit if we could. Senator Perfit, I ask if we could be silent while the Leader of Government Business is speaking. You may proceed, Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me be charitable and try to help. What the law already requires is the maintaining of accounting records. This piece of legislation, two gaps were identified by the CFATF, Financial Action Task Force. One, that there was no designated public authority responsible for the administration of the Act, and the recommendation was Financial Services Commission, and that is what it does. The second amendment, Madam President, is simply saying that the records, the accounting records that you are required to keep already, now must be kept in Belize. Either you keep it or your business at your business place if you have a business place in Belize, or you have a registered agent, the registered agent must keep it. Why? To ensure that the person, in this case the Commission, who is responsible for the administration of the Act, can have access to the documents in Belize. Nothing more than that. It has nothing to do with government taking of documents, nothing with no, hack the BEL, grandstanding, Madam President. I ask that the question be put.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to amend the Accounting Records Maintenance Act, Chapter 2610 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to require entities to maintain accounting records within Belize at its registered office or office of its registered agent in Belize, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto, be read a second time. All those in favor kindly say aye. Aye. Those against kindly say no. The ayes have it.
The bill for an act to amend the Accounting Records Maintenance Act, Chapter 26101 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to require entities to maintain accounting records within Belize at their registered office or office of their registered agent in Belize, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I rise to move the second reading of a bill for an act to amend the Customs and Excise Duties Act, Chapter 48 of the Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to implement the 10th phase of reduction of duties in accordance with the CARIFORUM EU Economic Partnership Agreement, to implement the 10th phase of reduction of duties in accordance with the CARIFORUM UK Economic Partnership Agreement, and to vary the rates of duty on sanitary products and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Madam President, as the long title says, the bill before the Senate is to achieve three objectives. The first is, under the EU CARIFORUM Economic Partnership Agreement, there is a phase reduction in duties on a specified number of goods, specified number of tariff lines. This is the final reduction, and so these are moving to zero. And that is for the EU CARIFORUM. The United Kingdom exited the European Union. Prior to that exit, it participated in the EU CARIFORUM agreement, Economic Partnership Agreement. Once it exited, there was a CARIFORUM UK Economic Partnership Agreement, similar terms. And so this is the 10th reduction, moving to zero duties on certain tariff lines. So those are the first two objectives. And finally, Madam President, to complete the commitment made to women of this country, we are amending the tariff to remove the duties on female sanitary products. The GST was removed. Now these are the import duties to complete that commitment. I commend it to this Honorable Senate, Madam President.
You're sure?
Madam President, I ask that the question be put.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to amend the Customs and Excise Duties Act, Chapter 48 of the Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to implement the 10th phase of reduction of duties in accordance with CARIFORUM EU Economic Partnership Agreement, to implement the 10th phase of reduction of the duties in accordance with the CARIFORUM UK Economic Partnership Agreement, to vary the rates of duty on sanitary products, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto, be read a second time. All those in favor kindly say aye. Aye. Those against kindly say no. The ayes have it.
The bill for an act to amend the Customs and Excise Duty Act, Chapter 48 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to implement the 10th phase of reduction of duties in accordance with the CARIFORUM EU Economic Partnership Agreement, to implement the 10th phase of reduction of duties in accordance with the CARIFORUM UK Economic Partnership Agreement, to vary the rate of duty on sanitary products and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Committee of the Whole Senate on Bills and Motions.
Honorable members, in accordance with Standing Order 68A, the Senate will now resolve itself into the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee, a committee of the whole Senate, to consider the motions referred to it, and thereafter, in accordance with Standing Order 54, the Committee of the whole Senate to consider the bills that were read a second time. Honorable members, I will now take the chair as the chairperson of the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee, and then as the chairperson of the Committee of the whole Senate. I will now ask the visitors to please clear the gallery. The leader of
Public business, government business, motions.
I was a bit ahead of you there, clerk. I recognize the leader of government business.
Madam President, with your permission, I would like to take the three motions together. Thank you. Madam President, the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee has met and considered the resolution authorizing accession to the Convention on the Facilitation of International Maritime Traffic, 1965, the FAL Convention, Motion 2023, and has agreed that it be returned back to the Senate for adoption. They have also considered the resolution authorizing the accession of the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer, Motion 2023, and have agreed that it be returned back to the Senate for adoption. And the committee has also considered the resolution authorizing the ratification of protocols of amendment to Articles 50A and 56 of the Convention on International Civil Aviation, Motion 2023, and has agreed that it be reported back to the Senate for adoption. Madam President, I therefore move that the question be put in relation to all three motions.
One, resolution authorizing accession to the Convention on Facilitation of International Maritime Traffic, 1965, FAL Convention, Motion 2023. Honorable members, the question is now therefore be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the government of Belize to accede to the resolution authorizing accession to the Convention on Facilitation of International Maritime Traffic, 1965, FAL Convention. 2. Resolution authorizing the accession of the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer, Motion 2023. Honorable members, the question is now therefore be it resolved that this Honorable Senate authorizes the government of Belize to accede to the amendment to the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. 3. Resolution authorizing the ratification of protocols of amendment to Articles 50A and 56 of the Convention on International Civil Aviation, Motion 2023. Honorable members, the question is now therefore be it resolved that this Honorable Senate, having examined the said protocols, authorizes the government of Belize to ratify the protocols relating to Articles 50A and 56 of the Convention. All those in favor kindly say aye. Aye. Those against kindly say no. The ayes have it.
Reporting and third reading of bills.
I recognize the leader of government business.
Madam President, with your permission, I rise to report that the Committee of the Whole Senate has considered the Accounting Records Maintenance Amendment Bill 2023 and passed it without amendment, and the Customs and Excise Duties Amendment Bill 2023 and passed it without amendment. I now move that the bills be read a third time.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to amend the Accounting Records Maintenance Act, Chapter 26101 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to require entities to maintain accounting records within Belize at its registered office or office of its registered agent in Belize, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto, be read a third time. Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to amend the Customs and Excise Duties Act, Chapter 48 of the Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to implement the 10th phase of reduction of duties in accordance with the CARIFORUM EU Economic Partnership Agreement, to implement the 10th phase of reduction of duties in accordance with the CARIFORUM UK Economic Partnership Agreement, to vary the rates of duty on sanitary products, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto, be read a third time. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Those against, kindly say no. The ayes have it.
The bill for an act to amend the Accounting Records Maintenance Act, Chapter 26101 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to require entities to maintain accounting records within Belize at its registered office or the office of its registered agent in Belize, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. The bill for an act to amend the Customs and Excise Duty Act, Chapter 48 of the Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to implement the 10th phase of reduction of duties in accordance with the CARIFORUM EU Economic Partnership Agreement, to implement the 10th phase of reduction of duties in accordance with CARIFORUM UK Economic Partnership Agreement, to vary the rate of duties on sanitary products and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, before moving the adjournment, may I just say on behalf of the government senators that we have Senator Beverly Williams and her family in our prayers at this time. Madam President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn.
Honorable members, before I pose the question, I would just like to join in the congratulations to Senator Honorable Elena Smith on her election to second Vice President of the Caribbean Union of Teachers. I believe, or I understand, that this is the first time Belize is serving in such a capacity. So congratulations to Senator Smith, to the Belize National Teachers Union, and to Belize on a whole. Honorable members, the question is that the Senate do now adjourn. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Those against, kindly say no. The ayes have it. The Senate now stands adjourned. You